Hey, welcome back to the Lexul Field Service channel. My name is Austin, and today we are learning about QuickBooks Online units of measure. So QuickBooks Online does not actually have units of measure directly built in as a feature like QuickBooks Desktop. However, Lexul Field Service has actually designed a way to use unit of measure with base units that's used on the QuickBooks invoice when you sync back to QuickBooks Online. So just quickly, units of measure are standardized quantities that express the magnitude or volume of a measurement or a service. So for example, when you're thinking of unit of measure, think of length, weight, volume, or other. So units of measure for length could be inches, feet, yards, mile, etc., etc. So in this video, you will learn how Lexul Field Service syncs base units of measure to QuickBooks Online. We're also going to look at how to set up units of measure inside of Lexul Field Service. We'll find out how to sync the invoice to QuickBooks Online using units of measure with specifically that base unit, and how base unit conversion, how that conversion actually shows up on each invoice and in QuickBooks Online itself. So we're actually going to go into Lexul Field Service itself, and we're going to show you how to set that up and what to do. All right, so we are inside of Lexul Field Service here, and the first step that you want to do is make sure that you sync your QuickBooks Online data with Lexul Field Service, of course. And I'm not going to go into that in detail right now, but that's a very straightforward process. It would just be in the accounting integration section here. But what we're actually going to go to the units of measure section in the configuration area, and here is where we can actually create our unit of measure set. So again, since QuickBooks Online you're unable to create these in QuickBooks Online, we can do that here, and then we can sync it back to QuickBooks Online. So I do have, you can click this, but I do have one set up here. So there is a base unit, which is, as you can see, I just put length and I put yard, feet, inches. So what you want the base unit to be is going to be the smallest measurement possible. So if you're doing feet, yards, mile, and so on, you'd want the base unit to be the smallest measurement. So in this case, I have feet as the base unit, and what I can do is I can add related units. So for example, I have right here yards and miles, and what you do, since there is 3 feet in a yard, for the conversion ratio, I would just add 3 because the base unit again is feet, and how many feet of the base unit are in 1 yard, so it would be 3. So in this case, there'd be 3 feet in 1 yard, and that's what I would add there, and so on and so forth. There's 5,280 feet in 1 mile, and that's just how you add those related units on top of that base unit. So when it comes to QuickBooks Online, once you use this, you want to go ahead and add this to a part or service, and I've already done that here. You can just pick any part or service, and you can add it here to units of measure, and I'm just going to add that there. And once you've added your units of measure, you've added it to a specific part, you can go ahead and actually create a new work order. Measure work order, and once you create that work order, again, that data synced, you just created that units of measure, base unit, and related units. But since this is QuickBooks, we are going to go ahead and, just for sample purposes here, add a service, and then we're going to want to find that part that we added the unit of measure to, and you'll see that there are these conversion, you can change or you can convert that unit of measure. So I'm going to do, so let's say we have 60 feet, but I want to, let's say I convert that to 20 yards. Here's the important thing to remember, that let's say I need 60 feet, but I want to convert it to 60 yards, and I want to create that invoice. Once that invoice is created, you will see the 20 yards show up. You'll see the totals, you see everything that you need. What will happen is once you sync this invoice back to QuickBooks Online, it's going to actually stick with the base units that were used. So if you convert it to 20 yards, and the original was actually 60 feet. The 60 feet, that is actually what's going to show, because again, that's the base units. That's what's going to show in QuickBooks Online. So once we submit this invoice, I'm going to actually show you what that looks like inside of QuickBooks Online. Find sales, invoices, and find date for today. Okay, so here's our invoice here for John Melton. We're going to go ahead and open this up. Once we open up the invoice, as you can see, that quantity here is still going to be that 60 feet base unit that you had used originally. So it's not going to show the 20 yards instead of the 60 feet. Since QuickBooks Online, again, doesn't have this units of measure built in, it's going to sync that initial base unit of feet. So whatever you put initially in the quantity for the base unit, that's what's going to show on the invoice itself. You can use Lexul Field Service. You can add your base units. You can use it on the work order. You can sync it to the invoice, and then you can sync it right back to QuickBooks Online. And that base unit of measure, which in this case is feet, will show inside the invoice. However, we are going to be also coming out with another video talking about QuickBooks Desktop. There are single unit and multiple units of measure, and how Lexul Field Service optimizes that as well. So stay tuned for that one, and thanks for watching. And again, it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, comments, please let us know below, and we hope to see you in the next video.